So Kelly, you know about the national projects that our clubs help fund in District 5, and I want to know a little bit more about what they are and why we fund them and why we help keep them rolling. First one being the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and how we help children and adults now with CF.
Well, I think many clubs were funding cystic fibrosis because it's such a horrible disease since 1964, but it was in 1987 that we decided to take it on nationally. At that time, there was more children than adults that had cystic fibrosis, and now, because of the work that we've done and the volunteer hours that Kin Canada has done, these people can live. There's more adults than children, and they can live to be 49. They can have full lives. Like, what that means to a parent of a child is indescribable when you can tell them that it's okay. Yes, the bad news is your child has cystic fibrosis, but the good news is they could live a pretty full and complete life, get married and
have grandchildren.
And have grandchildren. Yeah, like we've raised over $40 million at this point due to the volunteerism in Kin Canada, and we are their major sponsor around the world.
And we're very recognized for that too, are we not?
When every year each district has what they call a service director, and that service director is trained by cystic fibrosis. They're taken to the Children's Hospital, which I was lucky enough to experience, and I got to see these young adults, like 23, 24, with, they had computers there, and they had the actual human cell blown up, and you could actually see the different channels in the cell and how the fluids would move back and forth. And they would show, there's a new drug that's come out, it's called Kaleidoscope, and what it does is it keeps the channel open. So the channel was broken, which means that the fluids can't go back and forth, and that's why these people have so much trouble with their digestive tract and breathing, is because the fluids can't pass back and forth. So the leaps and bounds are amazing that Kin Canada has allowed them to make, because our money goes straight toward research.
Now, is that all derived at the club level?
That's from the club level. That's from doing little different projects and raising money towards cystic fibrosis and awareness. Sometimes it's a hot dog sale, sometimes it's a crazy golf tournament, sometimes it's just a fun dance. But every dollar counts, and every dollar that goes toward research, it doesn't help an individual maybe, but in the end it benefits all, because we want to find a cure. And there's as service director, there's a bottle of champagne that's going around, and it's not an expensive bottle of champagne, so I'm not sure how good it's going to be, but it's been passed around, and one day a service director is going to get to open that bottle of champagne when they find a cure.
And that's to celebrate.
And that's to celebrate finding a cure, because we want CF not to stand for cystic fibrosis. We want it to stand for Cure Found. So that is one of our major national projects that we're quite proud of, we're quite recognized for, and just knowing a child just knowing you can tell that family. I work in labor delivery, and I know the fear that's in the parents when they're told their child has cystic fibrosis. And myself personally, I met a little boy, and his name is Carter. And when I met him, he was only 6, and I asked him, I said, "So Carter, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And he said, "An adult."
Wow.
And I still get choked up, because that is where my passion is. That's why I'm in Kin. That's one of my major reasons why I put in endless hours as a volunteer, why I go away weekends and I spend some time away from my family, and that's because there's a reason, and I'm gonna find that cure, and it's gonna happen in my lifetime, and that means a lot to me.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, is there a minimum amount that the club has to donate
No.
to get to that certain level?
No, they can. They can donate their fines if they want to cystic fibrosis. Like, they can do little 50-50 draws. They can have little hot dog sales. cystic fibrosis will recognize you for $100. They'll recognize you for $25. They just want to find a cure. And it's got to come in one dime at a time. Like a member of the Footland Club has started, Mike. He's doing one dime at a time, and he's raised over $5,000 himself. One girl this year from Duncan decided to cut her hair off. She donated her hair to cancer research, but she raised the money for cystic fibrosis, and she raised over $5,000 herself. Brand new Connect. Angela's her name, and we're quite proud to say she's from the Duncan Connect Club.
Wow, that's amazing. So when we look at the club level, we're producing funding for research to cure cystic fibrosis, and we're not asking any minimum amounts or maximum amounts. Just do what you can, and if you're not doing something for CF, please consider doing a project to raise money for that cure for cystic fibrosis.
Absolutely. Also, at the national level, we have what we call a National Disaster Fund, and that is because with the change in weather all across the world, it's pretty devastating when it happens in your community. So we've decided nationally to put into the fund so that there is money available, because some little communities, especially if it's your community, not only is your homes and lives changed, but maybe the Kin Club isn't even able to help you at that time because they're wiped out as well. So we have the National Disaster Fund, and the little town of Duncan, BC, where I'm from, actually we had a flood and over 100 homes were lost. And I was able to, along with the Duncan Kinets, take them down $10,000 from the National Disaster Fund and present it to them. And the expressions of relief on those families, it was amazing to witness.
We also had a disaster in our community in 2003 with the fires in Kelowna, and it was a national disaster. Because of the amount of homes that were destroyed by fire, and the National Kinsman Disaster Fund did come to the table with some relief, and again it helped people feel at ease that there's others out there caring enough to come forward and help out.
It's pretty amazing as volunteers to see your efforts put to good use. Sometimes you're standing out there at that hot dog sale and it's hot, and you're thinking I could be at the beach or somewhere, but then when somebody's in need and you can say, you know what, I can help you, it makes it all worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the club level, again, is there a minimum for any of these
There's never a
minimum.
No, there's never a minimum. It's what you can give. Clubs across Canada, they range anywhere sometimes down to 3 members until they rebuild. And some of them have like 26 members or 28 members. So depending on the size of your community, and the size of your club and your manpower, we don't care if you give $10, but please recognize that it's a national project and we need everybody to contribute whatever they can. There's that saying, do something, do anything. There are, support nationally as well as your community.
Absolutely. And it's not always an immediate benefit, but it's sure nice to know when something does happen, there's some relief there. How about the Hal Rogers Educational Fund? That's also a national project in Kin.
Well, Hal Rogers, he passed away in 1994, and in quote, his own words were, providing and promoting the finest and most effective education possible for our youth. That was Hal Rogers' dream. Kin Canada was Hal Rogers' dream. I'm proud that he came up with that dream, and I'm proud of his desire to provide education. Again, there's nothing like higher education. It gives you power. It opens doors. And we have youth out there that are struggling. We have families out there that are struggling. And a mind is a terrible thing to go to waste because of monetary reasons. There's very, very smart children out there that have started, that have been given a rough start, but they have a chance to change their stars. And the Hal Rogers Foundation is helping with that at every level. One of the things I want to talk about is that I took registered nursing later in life. I started when I was 36, and I have 4 small kids, and in my 4th year, I just couldn't make it. I didn't have enough money, and it was too hard, and I was pretty close to getting marks with distinction. I worked really hard at it, and we were short just a little bit, but I was taxing my husband to the limit. I was taxing our bank account to the limit, and I applied for a Hal Rogers bursary, and I got it. And because of that, I graduated, and I can't say enough. $1,000 goes a long way when you're going to school and you have children. And I'm a really good nurse, and I'm proud of it. And I've given back tenfold because I am in kin, and it means so much to me, so I know what it means to people. People don't apply for bursaries lightly. You have to write down how much money you have, you have to get personal, and at the end of the day, the benefits that you reap from it is amazing. The national projects that we support, and the fact that we support our service directors, and that there's 8 of them, 1 from every district, and that there's education provided for them, and that we can take that back to the club level, and for the club to understand that every little bit that they've given means so much. And it just starts with a little bit and it grows. And right now the Hal Rogers Endowment Fund, their goal is to reach a certain amount so that it's sustainable, so that they can live off the interest pretty much. Because right now, like I think last year they gave away 36 bursaries. That's $36,000. That's and it depends on what they get every single year in donations, how many bursaries they can give out, because some of the money has to be put, because they have a plan, and their plan is to...
Sorry.
There's water right there.
Oh, got a tickle.
Good clap. Helps. Mark it.
Oh, sorry about that.
See if you can just do a clap and then try and just pick up where you were. Right.
Hang on.
Yeah, make sure you're comfortable first. That's good. When you have a tickle.
Made my eyes water. I could feel it coming up, and it just wasn't going away, and you weren't finished. All right. So, you know where you were.
I'm going to do this.
So, and their plan is to make it sustainable so that it'll never go away, that Hal Rogers' dream will never leave, and that they can give away bursaries every year to those in need. And here in BC, there are people with gaming money, and they're allowed to give the gaming money.
And by people, you mean clubs?
Yeah, the clubs. They can give away their gaming money by, all you have to do is mark on the bottom of check for use in BC. So that means that although we send it to out of province, to the Hal Rogers Endowment Fund, the bursary recipients will be from BC. So that's what makes it legal. So nationally, we are strong. Nationally, we have a good cause. We don't take up causes lightly. We have 3. A new one that's out, a relatively new one, is the Kinsman Foundation. And I just say to the clubs, remember that we need national. We need our national projects, because one day your community might be wiped out, and we're going to have to reach into the national pockets and ask them for help.
So at this point, we'd like to say that every club should be contributing to each and every one of these projects in any way that they can. If they've got a small hot dog sale or a large home show, any way that they can contribute is a definite benefit for our national projects.
Absolutely, because that's what you need, is the personal stories. And as soon as they touch you, that's when you're sold.
Thank you very much for your information, Kelly. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, Paul.